Wednesday night. It's August 10th, 2022. Another brand new episode of the Kicking Out Podcast. I'm Tanner Lee. The champ is back. The KOP Predictions champion. Austin Shepard's back in the house. Brooklyn Brawler took the night off. Not sure where he's at, but so sad to be him. He's going to miss a good recap of, in my opinion, was the best Dynamite of the year.
Oh, it was awesome. It was awesome, and he owes me big, and here's why. Because, you know, I love my professional wrestling, but I love my dirt car racing. Tonight started the Knoxville Nationals, which I know a lot of wrestling fans that watch us are going to go like, what the heck's the Knoxville Nationals? But it is the Super Bowl of wing sprint car racing, and a driver that I sponsor was qualifying tonight. So I'm trying to watch both at the same time and try to put two kids to bed. So, again, Paul, you owe me.
Yeah, he owes you big time. Big time, it sounds like. And
I pulled it off, so we're good to go.
Well, you're the champ for a reason, Shep. You're the champ for a reason. But I'm excited to talk about tonight's Dynamite. I honestly was not lying there in the intro. I thought this was the best Dynamite of the year. I don't have much to complain about at all about tonight's show.
No, and you and I have talked. Obviously, the first match of the night, Brody King. I'll let you do the read, but Brody King and Darby. And you know how I felt with the big guy versus the little guy, and their feud kind of rolling up. But all right, I got to take my hat off to this one.
No, I was right there with you. I was talking about it last week when you weren't on the podcast with Paul. I said, I don't know about this Coffin match. I said, I don't know if I can get behind it. Because I just had a feeling Darby was going to win. But how they had Darby win tonight, I can get on board with. I can get behind it.
Yeah. They did it well.
And that's how the show kicked off, Coffin Match, which I liked because usually the Coffin Match closes the shows. We've seen him close the show with Ethan Page, with Andrade El Idolo, but with the interim World Championship match, we knew that was going to close the show. So why not start it with just a hectic, chaotic match with some color, the Coffin Match. And, it only took 3 minutes for Brody King to get busted open.
I noticed that. Real quick, before we get into that, do you notice it's a Tony Khan trait? So where if you have basically two main events, two matches that could be main events, he starts and finishes with it.
Yep.
That's a Tony Khan trait.
Starts it, ends it hot. Yep.
So anyway, you're right. You said it was quick. Brody got color quick, and it was a lot of color.
Oh, it was smeared all over his face. I mean, it was pretty violent. But I was all about it. During the match, we saw Darby doing Darby things. Tope suicidas flying around. Saw Brody slamming him around. We saw Brody go for a splash off the apron, but Darby moved. He went through the table. We saw the lights go out. We saw returning Buddy Matthews and Malachi there to team up against Darby. But when Buddy Matthews went to open up the coffin, there was Sting, which the pause was a little weird. Buddy could have punched him like 5 times before Sting stood up, but
Sting was a little slow. little slow getting up.
Hey, he's an old man.
Right before that, though, what a spear through the table.
Oh, my God.
And if you looked at the back of Darby's head, there was little bits of red, so that was some color the hard way. But, yeah, I thought that spear was tough.
And then Sting, I like the face paint tonight. He had the black around his left eye. I like that with, giving an indication to the black mist. And I loved that he threw the bat to Malachi after beating up Buddy Matthews and Brody with the bat. Malachi takes the bat. Couldn't look cooler, swinging it around like a samurai sword. And then actually he gets tee off on Sting, then drops and is like, I don't need the bat. Walks away from him. Sting follows him. And then Darby goes back to doing tope suicida. So this Malachi Sting kind of backstory has me pretty intrigued.
Can you have a live match, a good live match between those two at All Out?
No.
You're gonna have to do cinematic, aren't you?
Cinematic, or we're gonna have a 2-on-2 with Buddy and Brody versus Sting and Darby, and Malachi's gonna go in a feud with Miro.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll get to that later, but I mean, obviously they're leading something up to. I mean, we got a pay-per-view 3 weeks away, right?
Yeah, 3 weeks from Sunday.
And how many matches we have announced?
None.
Exactly. That's my point. So at some point we got to start announcing matches and building feuds and doing a little storytelling. So we got to get something quick.
Yeah, towards the end of the match, King sent Darby into the barricade, but Darby fought him off with a chain, and he choked Brody King with his chain. Brody falls off the apron into the coffin, which had thumbtacks in it. Darby closes it for the win. So, like we kind of mentioned, if Darby had to go over, this was the way to do it.
Yeah, this is a way to make it. Almost makes it doesn't hurt Brody. Let's put it that way. It doesn't hurt Brody. Doesn't make him look good, obviously, but doesn't hurt him in a sense. Especially with Sting getting involved. You knew the House of Black was going to get involved eventually. So Darby being the face, Sting coming out down the road. There's chance for Sting. Probably 2-3 minutes before Sting actually came involved in the match. So yeah, pretty well played for a match that I was not really looking forward to.
Same here. I predicted Darby to win last week. Paul actually took Brody. I said Darby's not going to lose the coffin match. It's kind of like the Undertaker for a while with the casket match. And that was Paul's defense. He said, well, the Undertaker ended up losing some casket matches. He did, but after I don't know how many he went through before he finally lost one. So, I mean, Darby will eventually lose one. I don't know who that opponent's going to be to eventually break that streak. But
Sting.
Well, that would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be cool. We then got 2 backstage promos, one from Jon Moxley, one from Chris Jericho, hyping up the AEW Interim Championship. Moxley talks about how the Lionheart is the last true survivor of the Heart Dungeon. He wants to find out how much pain he can endure. Jericho says he'll beat Moxley. He tells Moxley to be careful of what he wishes. He says Stu Hart caused him pain he never wanted to think about again. He says he can heal a cut, but you can't fix what he's going to do to Moxley. He says he'll be the next AEW champion. Both good promos from guys who are good on the mic.
Yeah, I mean, Mox is one of my favorite. I know a lot of wrestling guys in the business that are in the business to make a living are not a fan of him in the ring. But he's just as he had a couple moments in the ring that we'll get to later, but his mic work's awesome. He got me excited for the match tonight. He did his job. I'm getting over, and if I can nitpick him, I'm getting over the shoulder swag. You remember when Cardona debuted in GCW, and he had the mask on, and he did the shoulder. Everybody thought it was Mox. Mox coming back, right? Coming back home. It was Cardona. Okay. If you notice in his promos, he either starts it or ends it with this shoulder swag, and I'm just over it.
Yeah.
And it's a trait of his. I get it, but maybe I don't know. I'm nitpicking.
Oh no, but it's kind of like his thing in AEW. I mean, when he showed up at Double or Nothing 2019, the first thing he did when he rolled in the ring when he's behind Jericho was a little shoulder pop, kind of. So that's the thing we didn't see out of Dean Ambrose, and it's definitely in Jon Moxley character. But I get it. I mean, I can see that nitpick. We then got a really fun tornado tag team match: Lucha Bros versus LFI. Penta was in the match, but Rush and Andrade El Idolo, and this match was full of action. Oh my gosh!
So do they announce? And I might have missed the intro of this one. Do they announce it as a tornado or a Lucha Rules?
Lucha Rules, and then during the match they call it tornado tag. So
okay,
yeah, but it was fun. There's so many high spots, which you knew there was going to be. Andrade got shoot kicked in the mouth one time. I don't know if he lost a tooth or what was going on there. I love the spot where they double knot tied Penta's mask. I hadn't seen that before. I'm sure that's been a AAA trick or a Lucha Underground years ago trick, but I had not seen that before. I thought that was pretty creative. And then the fact that he sacrifices his mask to save the pinfall, and then Alex Abrahantes throws in another mask, but then Andrade and Rush throw it in the crowd. The crowd wants him to throw back. The crowd was into this match. And then it ends up with Rush and Andrade getting the win, which I like. I didn't want to see either of these teams lose because I thought Andrade, I don't like him taking as many L's as he has been in AEW. I don't like the Lucha Bros taking as many L's as they have been. But overall, it was a really entertaining match.
But next week, Andrade, Dragon Lee, and Roosh are going to take an L because they're facing a young Bucks and they're returning Omega. And the reason I say that is because who we got returning at the end of the night. Again, get to it later. So you got to give them a little bit of a boost. And Andrade is young enough. He's chiseled. Why was he wearing a T-shirt?
I was going to ask the same thing. I thought that was like at first when I was watching, I'm like, okay, he forgot to take it off. He's just going to take it off during the match. And the whole match he's wearing it. So I'm like, did something happen to him in the last match of Flair? Like, did he get hurt on his chest or something?
The only thing I could think, like I was thinking, man, there was no thumbtacks. Okay, he didn't take any Ric Flair chops because obviously he's on Flair. So I was thinking the same thing. Like I was kind of going back in my mind, like what happened, but I don't know. I don't know. Again, I look at those little weird things like that and be like, why? But,
Did you? I'm going to go off on a little note here, but did you hear that on Ric Flair's podcast? He admitted he passed out twice during the match.
So I went back and rewatched that, and like at first, the first when I was watching it live, I was pumped. It was great. Like, man, it couldn't have went any better. But then you go back and you listen to some guys like Cornette, Conrad. I listened to, and I'm like, oh, he missed that. He missed that. Like, dude, he was. I don't care how trained he was. Flair was not all there.
No. I'm just glad he survived and didn't get even more dangerously hurt or anything.
Yeah, but to say Flair said he blacked out, one or two times, absolutely, I can see that now.
Yeah,
but he's 70 million years old.
Yeah. And if you haven't gone and listened to some of those podcasts that Shep was mentioning, especially in My World, Jeff Jarrett, he and Conrad really dove deep into how they built this whole story behind the match. Really fascinating stuff this week. I encourage you to go listen to that.
Conrad, you think he's still doing mortgages?
Dude, the guy's just raking in money all over the place. Podcasts, mortgages, whatever he wants to do. Promoting wrestling shows now, whatever he wants to do.
Good for him.
Yes, good for him indeed, the Podfather. We then head backstage to the Young Bucks as they approach the Dark Order and Hangman. They thank Matt thanks Hangman for saving them last week. He says they aren't proud of how they treated him this past year. Says his favorite time in his career and actually his life was with him, his brother, Paige together, all the guys. Matt says things got weird when they headed to AEW and apologizes. Matt says he was proud when he won the AEW World title, but he couldn't get the courage to tell him. He says he never would get those years back and says that they might be bad people. Paige brings out the good in them. He asked Paige to be their trios partner in the upcoming trios tournament. Paige says while he'd love to, he can't because they weren't there for him as the Dark Order was. He said this is their time. He's got to be in their corner. Matt said it's cool, and they awkwardly walk away upset.
So Cutler's the new partner.
He wants to be.
He wants to be. I want more of a cliffhanger.
Right.
For him to just come out and say, I don't want to be your partner. Okay, there's only one other guy to fit that role. I would love for him to, in a perfect world, I would say, hey, I'm your partner. Next week on Dynamite, 10 minutes before the match, he's all suited up. He approaches him and says, I can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
My lows with the Dark Order, I can't do it. I'm sorry. You're going to have to – So you go to commercial break and you got 10 minutes for these guys to find a partner, and then you bring Omega back. Oh, come on.
Yeah. Do you think the Omega teases to pop a rating next week? Do you think he actually does return and is the Bucks partner next week against Dragon Lee, Roosh, and Andrade? I got to think they're going to wait till All Out, but with this story, I don't know how they can.
It's got to be because Tony Khan promised a big return, or a big surprise tonight. We got that, and it wasn't Omega, because you said that even earlier maybe today or yesterday, you made a comment about somebody coming back. If you're going to take the Bucks out of the – if you're going to take the Bucks out of the tag team picture against All Out, because we wanted them in FTR, if you're going to take them out, you got to put something else on them. So, yeah, I mean, Omega's coming back next week. If he doesn't, if they just say, hey, we don't have a partner, and they end up beating them 2-on-3, okay, I like that, but that's a pretty damn good team of 3 guys to lose to the Bucks.
Right. And I mean, I guess they could throw Cutler in there, but I just don't foresee that happening. Or maybe they get some other former Bullet Club guy to come in.
Yeah, but if you start a tournament with somebody, you got to finish it with them.
Right.
So.
Well, here's my. I'm gonna grab a pen. I wish I had a pencil. And here's how I would book it. So I'm looking at the trios tournament, which is unbelievable, by the way. The bracket, Young Bucks and Question Mark versus Andrade El Idolo, Dragon Lee and Roosh, and at the top of the bracket you got Death Triangle versus Will Ospreay and Aussie Open. I mean, my God, right there, that surprised me. And on the other side, you got House of Black versus Dark Order, and the Trustbusters versus the Best Friends, which we'll get into in a little bit. So looking at the brackets, if I had the pencil, I have the Young Bucks and Question Mark, let's say Omega, face the Dark Order in the championship for the trios. Hangman's in their corner. Hangman turns on the Dark Order and rejoins the Elite.
I can see that because I don't think the crowd I don't think the fans are behind him as a huge face right now. Yeah, and we look at the Dark Order as a little bit of a comedy skit. So if he turns on them, I don't think it really affects them at all. But it puts him over as a bigger heel. Yeah, I'd go along with that.
But yet, at the same time, I don't know if you put all those guys heel with the Undisputed Era being heel. And those guys must legitimately be not cleared for action, Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, because they're not in the bracket at all.
Right. And the Bucks made it sound like we're not going to see them for a while.
Right. So
I got a little bit of a weird feeling of the trios match, and then we'll get to it when FTR came out with Warlord. Can you imagine those 3?
The real pinnacle, as I called them on Twitter.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, man, I got to think when they came out and helped them, I'm like, man, you throw them in the trios title? Okay, you could have the tag team titles with Strickland and Keith. You could have them face somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
You could have them face the Acclaimed.
There you go.
Have them face the Acclaimed at All Out, and then all of a sudden you put even more gold on FTR.
Yeah.
But again, it's more fantasy than anything. But
it'll be interesting because even though I just fantasy booked the Dark Order versus the Young Bucks and Omega, I hate to see the House of Black get knocked out in the first round. I'm a big fan of those guys.
Yeah, but I kind of I'd like to see a Miro and
Malachi. That's
Malachi,
right. You're right.
I was getting ready to call him something else, but I'd really like to see them two it all out. I think they could steal the show.
Yeah. But, I agree. I kind of forgot about that, even though I already mentioned that earlier. So, yeah, that's a good point. All right, we then saw a squash match. Luchasaurus squashed Anthony Henry. I do like how Luchasaurus is still in his heel gear, heel theme music. I like that. That maybe I'm just grasping on straws here, but I'm just hoping we're going to see a Luchasaurus still a heel turn, kind of another swerve, because I just think it fits him better.
I think it does. The only difference between a really good heel is mic work.
Right.
He's not good on mic. I mean,
no.
MJF is the hellacious heel because he can talk, not because of what he does in the ring. It's because of what he talks about.
Right.
You know, the same way with Jericho. 2.0. Magic Mike, man.
Yep.
I love that guy talking every week.
Oh, every week.
So yeah, Lucassaurus doesn't talk. He makes noises. He's a dinosaur.
Right. After the match, we saw Christian Cage on the screen. Says he wants to rip his headset off, but Minneapolis doesn't deserve to see him. Jungle Boy finds him backstage. Security holds him back, but Luchasaurus takes him down, and he headbutts Pat Buck. We see a Pat Buck appearance on screen.
I'm not a big Pat Buck fan.
I'm not either. I was just surprised to see him on screen.
He could have headbutt him harder.
Backstage, we see Miro talking, and Julia Hart approaches him and tells him to embrace the darkness like she did. I love this line. He says the only woman that can touch there's only one woman that can touch him, and she's not it. And then he knows his path is to destroy the House of Black.
So I'd like to see that match at All Out with a debuting CJ Perry, is what she's going by now, aka Lana.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't good in the ring back in her days in the other company, but she could be a good manager, and she's good on the mic. Like, she's just enough to get under your skin where you don't like her.
Right. So, she's still entertaining.
Yes. Yeah. She still has a little charisma, and she's entertaining. So, yeah, I think that's a little segue. Maybe they bring her in for a match. I don't think we need to put her in the women's division because it's cloudy enough.
Right.
But, yeah, to have her come back and be the valet, absolutely.
And I feel like Miro's been teasing this ever since he got into AEW, so maybe now is the perfect time. Now you can have another woman in the storyline. So,
yep.
Mm-hmm. We then see Powerhouse Hobbs backstage with Mark Henry. The Factory approach him and say they can take care of Starks. Hobbs tells them not to make his problem theirs. So then at ringside, we get Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and Satnam Singh head to the ring. Dutt says he is on a high after Battle of the Belts 3. He says they did the unthinkable to Wardlow, and they aren't done with him yet. Lethal says they will come find him again if he doesn't come to them for the title. Wardlow comes to the ring and says they can get their title shot if he can beat all three of them. FTR's music hits, crowd pops. They come to the ring. Lethal, Dutt, and Singh retreat, and the six men stare one another down. Lethal tries to attack them from behind, but Wardlow catches him. FTR delivers the big rig on him. Head backstage to the Jericho Appreciation Society. They're going to have a little bit of the bubbly later, and Garcia says he owns Danielson because he is the Dragon Slayer. Then Anna JAS, as she goes by now, chokes out a backstage official.
So what was what's his face? Sanjay Dutt. What was he trying to find under the ring?
Your guess is as good as mine. I don't know if he's trying to find a table or what.
There was something.
Yeah,
because they even brought it up on commentary. I don't know if it was Excalibur saying he kept searching. So there was something there that was botched.
Yeah.
And I like Jay Lethal a lot.
I think he's one of the most underrated wrestlers out there.
Yeah, I like Jay Lethal a lot. But the Satnam Singh dude.
Unfortunately, I think we're going to get him and Wardlow.
It'll
be a cool spectacle to see Wardlow powerbomb him. Don't get me wrong.
It would be. He's 7 foot 700. But to do it properly, Wardlow needs to beat him in 5 minutes or under.
Yeah.
Let the guy come in and get him some big chops. You know, kind of like the great Khali back in the day. Get him some big chops. Take some big chops. Take a clothesline. Take a boot, and then be done with it. 5 minutes, we're done. Let's move on to the next match.
Well, we need to see him really, if they're going to build to that, and I know we only have 3 weeks, we need to see him in some squash matches, squash some other guys before he goes against Wardlow.
Yeah.
I mean, just have him squash them.
Yeah.
Jobbers. I mean, anything.
Hopefully we get that next week at Dynamite or Rampage.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think you can build a feud going into All Out on Dark. So.
Not very well.
No, not very well.
We then see Ricky Starks against Aaron Solo. The Factory come to the ring. Ricky Starks follows. The bell rings. Solo charges at Starks. Starks takes him down with a clothesline. Solo but Solo got the upper hand because Cole Carter caused a distraction. Solo hit him with the under the chin, but Starks comes back with a DDT. He hits a spear, gets the win. After the match, Nick Comoroto heads to the ring with a chair. Starks hits a huge spine buster before Solo attacked him from behind. Starks escapes through the audience as other members of the factory chase him down. They pan the camera backstage, and we see an angry Powerhouse Hobbs smash a table.
To start, I love how AEW pulls down the curtain and shows that Starks and Solo were tag teams on the indie.
Mm-hmm.
Back when they were darn near teenagers. I love that they show that because you're not going to get that in other companies.
No, you're not.
So it brings some personality, some personal history into these things. Like, all right, these guys are going to fight because they used to be good friends type
right.
deal. So I love that about it. I love the quick match. I love Starks. Solo, I think Solo could be a really good mid to upper Carter, given the chance. But he's got a lot of ways to go. But yeah, I like Starks. So we get that match, and then all of a sudden we see Powerhouse Hobbs just slamming a TV. I'm a little confused by that. Why is he mad that Starks won?
I think so. That's how I took it. Mad that the factory couldn't. I don't know. But what he told him was, "Don't make my problem yours." So
yeah, but he didn't want to join
factory,
up
right.
with the factory, but yeah, he's mad that I don't know.
Yeah,
that was a little blurry.
That was a little blurry. I know a lot of people on the IWC are pumped about this feud. And I think it would be a good match at All Out, Starks and Hobbs.
Yeah. And the only reason I would go with this, because, again, you go back to my theory, big versus little. And not that Starks is little, okay? But Powerhouse has a lot of mobility in that ring. So he can work with a guy the size of Starks and make it entertaining. So.
Yeah. I mean, he looked great last year at Grand Slam against Punk.
Yeah.
I mean, Punk's not the smallest dude, but he's not the biggest dude. So.
Right.
Mm-hmm. We then go backstage. Lexi Nair, daughter of DDP and the Gun Club. We see both of them. Billy asks his sons how they would single-handedly ruin a match he created. Stokely Hathaway approaches Austin. Colton Gunn offers them his card like he is everybody lately. Billy tells him to have a bad day. Billy says he made a match for them on Rampage before Danhausen walks in and says he can't wait to meet them in the ring with the big bearded guy, a.k.a. Eric Redbeard, who I knew from Fightful earlier today. Fightful confirmed a report from Cassidy Hayes of bodyslam.com that Redbeard was backstage. So
two things. I love that Billy Gunn brought up the match he made famous.
Mm-hmm.
And the same spot that his boys took, if you remember correctly, back in the day, it really injured Chainsaw Charlie.
Yes, we talked about that last week. Yep.
Okay. Yep. A.k.a. the Funker.
Mm-hmm.
Funkster.
Mm-hmm.
Terry Funk. Then the best part of this whole promo, when Danhausen comes and touches, I think it was Colton, right?
Yes.
Touches him on the shoulder, and Colton slaps it, and he said, "Don't touch me." But it was so real. But it's like you could tell, like, oh, he's pissed. Like those two spots that Billy Gunn brought up, the match he made famous, and then Colton just slapping the hand, go, "Don't touch me, dude!" Like you're annoying. Like yeah.
And I know the ass boys get a lot of flack online. I enjoy when they're on TV because it's always entertaining.
Very entertaining.
I mean, no matter what they're doing. So
they got a lot of charisma from their father.
They do.
So, and I love that Stokely called him Grandpa Ass. That was funny.
Stokely's getting quite a stable going.
He is, but I don't like him. I
know you don't. I
want to punch him. But again,
that's what he wants you to do, though.
That's what he's wanting. But if you think about it, he's entertaining, so he's doing his job. Even though I want to punch him, I still want to see him, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
yeah. We then go back from the break. The best friends in Orange Cassidy are approached by the Trustbusters, Ari Davari, and offers Cassidy a spot in the group to launch him into superstardom. He says no. Davari says he will learn firsthand what happens to people who say no to him. They will fight at Rampage on Friday. I was excited to see Parker Boudreaux.
So let's back up 6 months. Wasn't this Parker guy like on the WWE radar like the next Brock?
Yes, they built him. He played football at the University of Central Florida.
Right.
And they signed him right out of college. They built him as next Lesnar, which doomed the kid to fail right away. I mean, he has the look, don't get me wrong, but it's like, come on. So he was in NXT.
He's not as big as Lesnar, but
no, he's not. And he was in NXT for a while. They changed his gimmick, made him shave his head. And then he was, earlier this year, in one of their mini rounds of cuts. So Tony Khan swept in, got him, created this faction on Dark. They've been having a bunch of Dark matches on Dark, I should say. So now they finally get their Dynamite debut tonight. So
who's the guy with the hat on crooked?
Slim J, I think his name is.
Snap into a Slim Jim.
So I think his name's Slim J. All three of them, or at least Ari Davari, he's doing some backstage work too with AEW. He was former guy in WWE NXT.
Yeah, we all know Davari.
Yeah. So
the Parker guy though, I just remember they were just so high on him.
Oh yeah, he there was nowhere for him to go but down. I mean, it was.
Did he ever make NXT TV?
Yeah, he was on NXT for a while, but they changed his character. They shaved his head, and I don't know if he was just too green or what. I mean, he was featured on NXT, but he didn't ever come to fruition like they thought he would.
Gotcha.
Then they cut him.
Yeah.
And I just thought he needed more reps, to be honest. I'm excited to see what they can do with him. So.
Well, if he needs more reps, put him on Dark, put him on Rampage, but and then eventually get him to Dynamite. But there's a lot of people really, really high on that kid. So
yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, they're in the trios against the best friends, so that'll be an interesting spot.
Man, best friends got to go over on that one.
I would think.
You would have to. Just because of Orange, I think.
Yeah, and I was talking last week. I know he's won some matches lately, but he's taken a lot of L's in 2022.
Yeah,
him and Darby both.
That and Trent too. Like Trent was I don't want to say a crowd favorite, but he had a lot of backing, and I like Trent. So. But
and I think Chuck Taylor in ring's one of the most underrated guys in the company.
Chuck Taylor is good in the ring, but he doesn't have the look.
I agree.
And
I agree.
Trust me, I'm the last person that should complain about physique, right? But you don't see me in the middle of the ring. So
yes, true.
Yeah, get a little physique on him, but yeah, and I enjoy stuff on BT and stuff on Mondays and going for the BT title. I enjoy that stuff. He's very entertaining. Yeah, you got to put them over on this new faction called what is it called again?
Trustbusters. Not the best name, I got to be honest, but
best name at all. Especially the guy that wears a visor backwards. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Hey, I saw Denise Salazar, who does some work for various platforms out there, including Fightful. She had a good tweet. Woodstock, I think it was like 66, and it was the best friends. Woodstock 99, and it was the Trustbusters. I'm like, that's pretty good. With the way they were dressed, that's pretty good.
Well, it's really good if you've watched the documentary on Netflix.
I heard the Miz was on there.
I've watched the first 2 episodes, and it's crazy.
I have not watched it yet.
In 1999, I was 16 years old. So
I was 7. So
you're lucky. I need to watch the next 2 episodes, but yeah, so far that documentary on Netflix is crazy, and like I can imagine being there when I was 19, 20 years old, like most of these people are. But anyways, that's a whole nother discussion.
It's a whole nother podcast.
Oh yeah.
Then we get our only women's match of the night tonight. TBS Championship on the line. Jade Cargill against the new acquisition, the new women's coach who made her debut on Rampage on Friday, Madison Rayne. This was a fun match. The result was never in doubt for me. Jade Cargill won, hitting Jaded at the end, bringing her winning streak up to 36-0. And that's a legit 36-0. It's not a Goldberg win streak where it went from 80-0 to 110-0 in 2 weeks. But they
were counting house matches.
They were counting house matches and matches that didn't really even happen. But we saw after the match that Athena was dressed up as one of the baddies. She beats up Jade Cargill, and then Kara Hogan pulls Cargill out of the ring. So we got to think that's where we're heading for the TBS title for All Out. Finally, Athena versus Jade.
And I think we will see Athena over Jade at All Out. Not trying to give you one of my picks, but because they want to elevate Jade into the main title picture.
It's got to be time, right? I mean, if you don't pull the trigger now, who's going to build up enough to take her out?
I mean, we've been 7-8 months with Jade at TBS title.
Yeah, it was in the fall last year. So
yeah, okay. So she's ran her course. You got to somehow get the title off of her. Athena would be a person who has proven herself in AEW, out of AEW, whether it's WWE or in the Indies. She can work. She's got a following. That'd be somebody that could take the title off of Jade and then just make Jade somehow work her way into the main title picture against Thunder Rosa or whoever it would be at the time.
And it looks like it'd be Thunder Rosa or Toni Storm because Chris Statlander has an injury. I think that's a legit injury. She hurt herself on Dark, I believe, her knee again, which is too bad. That woman just cannot stay healthy. I feel bad for her because every time she gets momentum, something happens. So it looks like we're going to get a feud between Thunderstorm, their team, for the AEW Women's Championship. And I kind of like your theory there. I kind of like the more I think about it. Athena knocked off Jade. I would have Thunder beat Toni, even though Tony's really impressive to me, and I hate seeing her take too many L's. But I like the idea of Jade being the one to knock off Thunder and take that title.
Yeah. Again, if you're going into the booking of All Out, if you have a Thunderstorm going against each other, we go back to the last pay-per-view. I really wanted Toni Storm. I really thought Toni Storm would end the title reign of Thunder Rosa, just because I feel like it was lackluster, and they needed to have some freshness into that group. Now you get an injury, and the only other person really is Britt Baker, but she's been gone for a while. Again, we're 3 weeks out. You gotta have some storytelling. You gotta build up something. So, Toni Storm and her have been on TV for the last couple of weeks. I don't know. You're gonna get something along those lines at All Out. So.
I will say the tag match last week between Thunderstorm and Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker was one of my favorite women's matches of the year.
It was very good.
That was really good.
It was very good.
And then I felt really bad for Jamie Hayter Friday on Rampage breaking her nose. It's kind of funny when broken noses happen in wrestling. Like with the guys, I don't really feel bad. It happens. It's wrestling. But when it happens to a woman, I feel really bad.
And she was on the offensive.
Yeah.
That was the thing. It's it's different if you're on the defense. She was on the offense. And got that knee kind of with a knee or a thigh kind of on that brainbuster. It was. I watched the replay on it. It made me have a little bit of a concussion.
Yeah, I was sure she was in a ton of pain later on. That's never fun. Broken nose, not fun. And then we get the main event tonight, and it lived up to the billing. Jon Moxley defending his AEW Interim World Championship, even though he doesn't want the interim title. And JR made it clear tonight he doesn't like the interim title being named or being used as the name for the title versus Chris Jericho, who came out as Lionheart. Music, attire, and all. Loved it.
I love that. But going back to if you think about it, Moxley said it, JR said it. I don't want this interim BS. in our mind, we should have said, okay, Punk's coming back.
Should have, but I didn't.
No, we didn't.
There was Easter eggs right there the whole night.
2 weeks ago, we're reading reports he's out at Comic-Con and can barely walk.
We got worked.
Yes, we did. We're reading at Comic-Con. He can barely walk. He's in so much pain. I'm like, that's 2 weeks. So like, shoot, he's never going to be back for All Out. Like, we weren't even thinking what's going to happen tonight.
Nope.
And those two just even put little sprinkles on top of Sunday.
They gave the Easter eggs right there, right in front of our face. We couldn't see them. We're colorblind. Colorblind. But I and you were talking about earlier, the callback last week to the dumpster match between the New Age Outlaws, Chainsaw Charlie, and Cactus Jack. And it's like tonight with the Lionheart stuff, which they've built up for the last few weeks. That's what I love about AEW. Tony Khan has a lot of callbacks. He's not afraid to go back and pay tribute to stuff. We don't see that in a lot of other companies.
We don't. And the big thing with Jericho, we got the Painmaker a couple weeks ago. We've had Le Champion. We've had Lionheart. I feel like Jericho knows, and I'm not being a jerk because I'm an AEW fan, but I'm not being a jerk saying he's on his last run.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So he's trying to get all of his personas in, and I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Whether we get another year of Jericho, 6 months of Jericho, 2 years of Jericho, probably not much more than 2 years of Jericho. Let's get them all in. And his old theme music, his ring attire. The only thing that you couldn't say is he didn't have the bleach blonde hair he had back in the day when he was up in Canada doing that. But the first, couple, like, what'd you say, 8-9 minutes of the match was kind of a technical wrestling match.
Sure. Yeah.
Which he would have learned at the Heart Dungeon. He always talked about how Stu stretched him.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that part of it. I like that aspect of it. And then then we get into the whole earring thing. And I got to think about it. Like, he pulled that earring out. And I'm like, he just opened it up, pulled it out. But there's two things that could have happened. Because towards the end, there was a couple camera shots of Moxley's ear. A, he could have really ripped the thing out. Okay, happened. Or B, Moxley colored his own ear. And I can't remember. I can't think which one I want to believe.
I think it was a little bit of both. Because I will.
You can't go in the middle, Tanner.
Well, I will admit that I admit this on the podcast. Nobody can see my close up, and I'm not afraid to admit it. When I was in college, I got my ears pierced, so I wore earrings for a couple of years. Though, if that thing comes out, that hurts if you don't loosen it up at all, and it will definitely draw blood. Now, to the amount of blood that Moxley had tonight, that's got to be a little bit of a blade.
Okay, so you don't think he actually ripped the hole? I
don't think so. I think we would have seen like potential skin like flapping if he just ripped out with the force. But Moxley's a crazy son of a bitch, so I don't know.
Yeah, we won't be shocked either way. But anyways, I know I'm getting sidetracked here.
Well, that's all right.
I was shocked at that. Until Jericho took the turnbuckle spot. And then, A, that either really busted him open the hard way, or B, he bladed himself so deep that it was over the top because towards the end they gave him a rag to cover it up because he was being so bad.
Yeah. I think he got a gusher. I think he bladed himself a little deep.
Yeah. He got a little excited. I don't know.
We knew we were going to get color on the KOP Twitter account. I said, "Who's getting color this match? Mox, Jericho, or both?" Everybody's like, "Both." End up being both. I thought Jericho looked great tonight. I thought he looked to be in great shape. So kudos to him. Which I know that goes back to his health scare last year, which he talked about on Talk Is Jericho on an episode last month. How he really got severely sick overseas on the Fozzy tour and whatnot. But this match was fun. It was hard hitting, had color. Oh, I was ticked when they went into picture-in-picture when he had the walls locked in. But after I saw what they did, had the walls locked in the whole commercial break, that was awesome.
Yeah, well, right before they went to commercial break, Moxley kind of laid down like he was out, and I'm like, wait a minute, we still got like 10 minutes of television left. It's way too early for this. And then they went to picture in picture. I'm like, okay, they're not going to finish the match in picture. But they all know this. But yeah, until they came back is until he made the move. So
yeah, no, it was good. Crowd was loving this match. There was a "This is awesome" chant. We saw Jericho counter Moxley's two-handed sludge off the top into a code breaker and went for the pin, but Moxley kicked out. Jericho began ripping the pads off the turnbuckle. Sammy Guevara tosses his bat, but bad throw by Sammy, overshot him a little bit, so they had to improvise really quickly, and he had to go grab that out of the ring, and Aubrey had to be distracted a little longer. But Jericho hit Moxley with that. Moxley kicked out. Moxley sent Jericho face first into the exposed turnbuckle, which you said bust him open. Then he hit the juice effect. JR is saying nobody's ever kicked out the juice effect. Well, Moxley did. And I'm pretty sure Moxley did at 2020 Revolution. I could be mistaken, but I thought he kicked out of it that night too. Then Jericho grabbed the AEW Championship from the outside, but Moxley moved out of the way. When Jericho tried to hit him, Moxley locked in the rear naked choke. Jericho countered back into the walls. Moxley escaped and fired down some elbows on Jericho's back. Got the rear naked chokehold, and Jericho tapped out.
Let's back up a couple minutes. Have you ever watched Moxley in those false finishes when the pin starts, his eyes are closed?
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, his eyes open up, and he's looking at Aubrey.
Yep.
And I get it because he wants to make sure, obviously, he doesn't get the freak out. But it's like, man, and maybe when you're in the arena, obviously, you're not going to see that.
Right.
But we're on television. We get that different camera angle.
Right.
It's like there was the first two false finishes. I'm like, hey, There was maybe the third false finish. I'm like, ooh, I could see Jericho. All of a sudden, I'm thinking Jericho Punk.
Until you see the eyes,
But then all of a sudden, his eyes pop open. And I'm like, oh, it's because he wants to make sure he kicks out.
Yep. I probably picked up on that. We've both watched a lot of wrestling over the years. I probably picked up on that probably about like 6 or 7 years ago. The eyes thing, and ever since I did that, it's kind of like it's ruined false finishes for me because I look for that. And if I see the guy's eyes open, I'm like, he's kicking out. Well, and Moxley's one that does it more than a lot.
Well, the reason he does it more than a lot is because he has blood covered.
That's a good point.
Eyes, and all of a sudden, you see white eyelids or white, the whites of your eye. You're like, oh, he's out. There's blood. And all of a sudden, you see the white of his eyes, and he kicks out. So
that's good. That's a good point.
But great. Hey. They gave him about 20 minutes.
Yeah, darn near 25.
Yeah. I really, really enjoyed that. I know people criticize the way Jericho works at his age. And there's been people saying that Moxley's an awful pro wrestler. The only reason he's getting the way he is because of the way he can talk. But I was thoroughly entertained on this match. There was a couple spots where Moxley, he was out on the outside of the ring and he was trying to drop some elbows and they looked a little cheesy. But again, I'm nitpicking. And the reason I'm nitpicking is because I really want to say this was a great match and I enjoyed it. And then there's going to people say that, well, he's a bad wrestler, yada, yada. Jericho's 54 years old, whatever. But no, thoroughly entertained, great main event. It went 20-plus minutes. And, again, it's on free television. We're pretty damn spoiled when it comes to the matches we get on AEW compared to other companies.
100%. And after the match, we saw Sammy and Hayter hit the ring, start to beat down Moxley. Jericho's up. Then Claudio and then the rest of the BCC except Danielson. So Claudio, Wheeler Yuta, Eddie Kingston, Ortiz, which they're not part of the BCC, but they're part of this whole feud with the JAS. They come, even the odds actually take the numbers advantage. Then we see the rest of JS, Garcia, Magic, Daddy Magic, Cool Hand, Ange. They come down the ring. So it's like gang warfare. It's like, all right. So I'm like, okay, this is how it's going to end, whatever. We're going to get Jericho, Moxley 3 and All Out. And then Cult of Personality hits and the roof blows off the Target Center. The Timberwolves have been so bad for 20 years. The Target Center hasn't got enough action like this tonight. And Punk's music hits. Punk comes out. I'm on the edge of my seat, of my couch. My eyes are open. I'm like, oh my God, he's walking just fine. He runs out, clears the ring. We get to face-to-face confrontation with him and Moxley. Moxley flips him the bird, gives him a shoulder as he heads out to the ring. So that's going to be our main event of All Out. We've seen Ambrose versus Punk, but we've never seen Moxley versus Punk, and I can't freaking wait.
So the debut or the re-debut of Punk was a complete shock. I thought, when the Combat Club came down, I'm like, okay, maybe we're going to get some – they advertised Danielson coming back Friday. Obviously, they're taping Friday tonight. Right. It's not a live show, so he's backstage. So I'm thinking, man, maybe they just throw a little curveball at us and we see him come out. I'm a huge Eddie Kingston fan, so I love that they brought him out there, which he was out there for, 2 minutes or whatever. I'm thinking, man, I remember sitting on my couch. Of course, it's an hour or so ago. Yeah. And I looked up, and it's 9:56. I'm like, we have 4 minutes of television left. Something's going to happen. And then all of a sudden that hits. And here comes Punk. And like you said, the first thing I looked when he came out of that tunnel, I'm looking at that foot. I'm like, he's not even limping. And so like the longer hair of Punk. If you notice, he had a little longer hair tonight. I like the longer beard. And once he cleared the ring, if you notice, he did the old Scotty Too Hottie one thing to show his foot's okay. So,
he was loving it tonight. He was loving being back.
And you know what? He's a face. Mox, I consider a face, but I love that Mox turned around, flipped him off, told him to F off. Yep. I'll see you later. Yep. And away I go.
Oh, it's going to be a fun main event. It's All Out. I mean, it's one of the bigger matches they can do in the company, no matter who you put across the ring from each other. It's one of the bigger ones they can do. So it's going to be fun. And I don't know who I'm going to have win yet in my predictions, but I think we see a return after the match, though. Yeah. I think we see Mr. MJF.
Ooh.
Especially if Punk wins.
It's in Chicago.
It is. Except I did make a prediction a few weeks ago, and I still kind of like this, too, that MJF returns at Grand Slam in late September. I think it's on the 21st. And Britt Baker, she could be trolling all of us, but today on Twitter at 9:21, she posted a picture of her and MJF at 9:21.
Yeah, I don't know.
I might be looking way into that.
Again, all the dirt sheets you read, and I know we're fans when it comes to that. They all say this stuff is real, and
I know.
They even made a comment that Tony Khan can hold this against MJF, using it as injury time and just extend his contract. Yeah. So he wouldn't necessarily be able to leave at 2024, I think is when it's up, right?
Because he's through next year, because he kept bringing up in the promos the great money wars of 2024.
And the last we've heard is he was doing some content for Impractical Jokers, which is True TV, TBS, TNT. They're all the same company. So then I got to thinking, can Tony and MJF really just lay low enough to play us?
I think they can.
And if you remember correctly, you might be a little too young. Do you remember Sandman and Paul Heyman in ECW when he got his eyes burnt because of the fireball? And Sandman literally hid for like 45 days. no TV, no appearances, no nothing. This is back right when people are getting to be smart fans on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch any ECW documentaries, they talk about this. Like, he literally hid in his house. He would not go get groceries in his own hometown because he was playing the cave. He's playing the thing like, hey, man, my eyes are burnt. I'm blind. I can't do it. And all of a sudden he shows up. And it got the biggest pop ever. So I'm thinking, is Tony Khan, who was a huge ECW mark, can he just say, hey, look, I'm going to take this one step further. I'm going to take one of these guys that has the internet, this, and this, and I'm going to make him just hibernate. I can see it.
And Max would be the guy to do it because he lives his character. And if this is all a work, which I still think it is, I just think it's a really good handcrafted work. I mean, they've done a good job at it. They've pulled all his merch off the stores. I mean, he's out of all the promo packages, out of all the intros, everything. I mean, they've made us want to forget about him. And
I think this Tony Khan is the 2022 version of the 1996-7 version of Paul Heyman. And I know Paul Heyman right now is on television right now. He is the best he's ever been. But when it comes to wrestling minds, I don't know if there's anybody better than Paul Heyman.
I can't argue with that.
Now, we go into wrestling historians. Yeah, we talk about your boy Cornette and stuff like that. But, I mean, overall wrestling minds, and we'll throw Vince out of there because Vince is Vince. He's delusional. But, I mean, this guy is – I'm talking about Heyman – is the best.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think Tony looks up to him, and he's going to say, hey, Paul did it. I can do it this way. We just got to go a step further because of technology, social media, internet.
100%. 100%. Yep.
Yeah. So my feeling on MJF, I don't think we'll ever see him in WWE. That could be a bold prediction, even, because he's only 26 or 7 years old, I think MJF is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's got another 20 years of wrestling ahead of him, but
yep. No, I agree. Even though it's a new face on WWE, we'll see how long the newness lasts. I mean, it looks like a better product so far. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But so maybe there is more of a chance now than there was a couple months ago, but I still don't see it.
I think I sent you, Triple H is going back to WWF.
Yeah, you did. That 90s account doesn't miss.
Oh, it's
90s
awesome.
account's unbelievable.
Makes me chuckle every time.
It's great content. 90s WWF, I think it is on, or 90s wrestling or something like that. So, but next Friday night's Rampage card looks good. Next week's Dynamite card looks good, and there's another theme. It's the House of Dragon. So everybody talking about AEW being in trouble for their revised TV contract. I don't think Turner would be doing this type of stuff if they weren't fans of AEW.
No, Turner's putting a lot of money behind these guys right now.
Yeah,
and I know their ratings are really close to WWE. Sometimes they win, sometimes they lose. But right now, I think it's one of their highest rated shows. So,
yeah.
Yeah,
what else are you going to put on a Wednesday night from 8 to 10 o'clock that would beat those ratings? On TBS at least.
If you look at TBS up until 8 o'clock, it's, reruns of Big Bang Theory.
Right,
so.
right.
They don't have any new content.
Exactly. So, but a great show tonight. With that said, who's your wrestler of the night, Chip?
This is a tough one.
It is a very tough one because there's a lot of good candidates tonight.
My wrestler of the night is going to be Lionheart Chris Jericho.
Even in a loss,
I thought the guy at 50 whatever did very, very well and performed above his level and sold me on a lot of things where there was a point where I'm thinking, damn, are they really going to switch this belt? And I can see Tony doing it on a Dynamite.
Yep.
That wouldn't even cross my mind. I'm thinking, okay, all right, we're going to get a Jericho Punk at All Out, or we're going to get a. This was Series 2, so we're going to get a best of 3, best of 5, whatever. I mean, it got me thinking just because of the way he was performing. So again, he wins. That's my wrestler of the night.
Good call. I mean, it's 2022 and he's still put on good matches. I mean, at his age, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Nobody's reinvented themselves throughout professional wrestling history better than Chris Jericho.
No, and I think there was one thing right when he went for his first Walls of Jericho. They got a close up. His knee braces and knee pads are ridiculous. His knees must be just shot.
Yeah. And I'm surprised he still wrestles as much as he does. I'm surprised by now in his 4th year at AEW, he doesn't sporadically wrestle while still appearing on TV. He wrestles a lot more than I thought he would.
Yeah, he's once or twice a month for sure.
Mm-hmm. My wrestler of the night, thought about going with Darby, thought about going with Mox. I feel like those are kind of easy picks. I'm going with Andrade.
All right, yeah.
He's had a good few weeks lately.
Yeah, he has. The only reason I didn't pick any guys from that or Andrade or anybody's from that match is because I thought all 4 of those guys were badass.
Yeah, they all were great. I could have picked any one of them.
Yeah.
Got a comment here from Wonderful on YouTube. The knees almost gave out, most definitely. Yeah. Talking about Jericho. Yeah. No doubt. All right, what's your overall rating of the show tonight?
Ooh. This is one of the better shows, so I'm going to go a little higher. I'm going 8.1.
8.1. Okay. All right. Oh, do I do it? I'm going to pull the trigger. I think it's my highest rated Dynamite ever. I'm going 9.1.
Oh, wow.
9.1. I very little I can complain about tonight.
Yeah.
And I know you got nitpicky with some stuff, and
I'm nitpicky.
Yeah, but
don't call me the Dave Portnoy pizza review where 8.1 is a tremendous score.
Oh yeah, sure.
But
sure.
There was just a couple things, we didn't even talk about this, but the Jade Cargill pump kick to Kara Hogan on the side.
Yeah, she whiffed.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And again, I'm nitpicking, but 8.1's a hell of a score.
Yeah.
It was a hell of a Dynamite.
It was.
And again, this is weekly television. This is not something that we're doing special. And if they can consistently do this type of content, dude, we're lucky.
And I feel like Tony gave a big FU to a lot of his criticizers out there in the IWC because AEW's been catching some slack lately from internet fans. WWE's got to re-sign all their old guys. Now Triple H is head of creative, blah, 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 blah. So I thought we were going to get a good show tonight. It exceeded my expectations even, but I thought Tony was going to be like, all right, here's my chips on the table. Now I'm getting one of my main faces of the company back tonight. That's another thing a lot of people are forgetting. Not only has Punk been out, Omega's been out for damn near a year. Adam Cole's been on the shelf.
Yep.
A lot of others I'm forgetting. So when we start getting those guys and gals back, it's only going to help the company.
Right. No.
So
great to see Punk back tonight.
Yeah, that was a fun surprise, and that's another reason why I like AEW. They can surprise me more than a lot of other companies.
Well, you got to remember TNT or TBS, TNT, whatever. They do not like press releases of all. They want the surprise. So,
except they were pissed at the Sting one, if you remember, in 2020. They were pissed at that wasn't advertised beforehand. But
we got a good one tonight. So again, hopefully this is a really good foundation up into All Out, and we just start building into it from now.
I think we'll start getting matches officially announced next week.
We need to because if you can knock, again, I'm nitpicking. If you can knock on AEW, they go into these pay-per-view events and they'll wait the week of to announce these matches. Even if you think about it, even when we do our predictions, We do them on Wednesday nights, and then we might get 3 matches on Friday night that we don't even know about. So
that definitely happened on the ROH pay-per-view. We got like 8 Friday night. So, but real quick before we sign off, give me your best predictions for the card as of right now.
So obviously,
see if we agree.
Main event, we're going to get Punk and Mox.
Right.
Trios title, obviously Bucks, Omega versus.
I'm still going with Dark Order.
Yeah. I just because of the way the bracket lines up.
Just because the story.
Yep. I don't see us doing an FTR versus Swerve. What All Out? What's their name?
Swerve in Our Glory, I believe.
Yeah, I don't see that. I see Serve Acclaimed. I really do.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what you do with FTR.
You got to have them on there, don't you? They're too hot not to.
They're the best tag team in the world right now.
I know.
They hold more belts than anybody.
Maybe you have a triple threat between those 3.
Yeah, but I just still want I still want them to take it off the Bucks.
And I think I think we're gonna get that 3rd match. It's just they're making us wait a little longer than we want to.
Yeah. Women's match. I think we get Thunder Rosa, Toni Storm.
Yep. Jade and Athena, I would say.
Yep, Jade and Athena.
Jungle Boy Christian.
Yep, Jungle Boy Christian, Starks Hobbs.
Are we gonna get Wardlow Singh? You think? I don't know where else you go with the TNT title.
Singh, and then I think you get. I don't know. I think you get the Ass Boys in there somehow. Maybe you get them.
Miro Malachi. Or do you still work in Sting Darby there?
Yeah. And then you got Hook, FTW champion Hook.
Yeah, we'll find out Friday maybe where he's going to go.
You got to throw him on the pay-per-view somewhere.
Yeah, even if it's in the pre-show.
So, I mean, again, I was listening today. I was listening to Cornette, and he was talking about SummerSlam. SummerSlam was 3 hours and 40 minutes or whatever. Mm-hmm. He was praising them because AEW is 4 hours plus. But we're getting up to a point where All Out going to have a ton of matches, and it's going to be a long night.
It is, and I hate when they're long nights, but I also tell myself it's 4 times a year.
That's the difference. You're right. That's the difference.
Well, maybe 5 this year because of Forbidden Door, but there was that report that Dustin Rhodes said there's been talks of making some of their pay-per-views 2-nighters. Now, Tony Khan of Busted Open today said that has not been talked about. He was disappointed Dustin even went out there and said that. So who knows what's being talked about there. But
if you could do one price for 2 nights and they're 2.5 hours apiece,
yeah,
I'm in.
Right. It's you can book that weekend and make yourself available. I mean, WrestleMania, it's worked for that. So, I mean, they're going to keep going. It works for Wrestle Kingdom. So, it can work. I would like to see AEW do it with one event, but not all 4. So, maybe pick between All Out or Double or Nothing, whichever you want to consider your bigger one. And whichever one you go 2 nights, assuming you only do it once, is your biggest one.
Right.
So,
yeah. That'll be a good week in Chicago.
Yeah, and Punk in the main event in Chicago. It'll be fun.
Shocker.
It'll be fun. In the no, it won't be in the same building that Moxley won the world title at Revolution 2020. That was in a different arena in Chicago.
Yeah, they're going back to. Is it still called the Sears Arena?
I call it that, but I don't even know what it's called anymore.
Okay. I think you're right.
Something like that. But because the Revolution was that one more downtown. I don't remember what that was either. There's so many up there.
Yeah,
I don't.
Forbidden Door was in
United Center.
So
which
that was a big one. So
kind of surprised they didn't do that again, but you don't want to run it too many times. So
yeah.
Yep. But another fun show. Thanks for filling in, Shep. I mean, you're the champ for a reason. You come in through the clutch tonight. Brooklyn Brawler. Hope he gets well soon.
Hope he gets well soon. It's actually perfect timing. We're gonna knock off here. My boy is starting 5th in the A main of Knoxville right now. We're getting ready to take the green flag probably in 2 minutes, so perfect timing. Yeah, great night.
Go buy some KLP merch. You can get a shirt just like this one I have on. I got the NWO-inspired black and white one on. Last week I had the Wolfpack-inspired one. So you get online. You can find the links on all the KLP social channels, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, at Kicking Out Pod. Follow Austin Shepard on socials at TheShep27. You can follow myself at TannerLee92. And you can follow Paul at PaulZartman921. For Austin Shepard, I'm Tanner Lee. Join us next week as we kick out another podcast.